Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Telegraph Herald, More Than the Score. I am your host, Steve Ortman. Alongside me this week, Jim Leitner. How's it going, Jim?
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row.
That's a record.
That is a record. Well, thanks for asking, I'm feeling great. You want to know why?
Why are you feeling great, Steve-O?
Because I spent my day today getting to finish off binge watching Stranger Things 2. Am I right? You love that show, right?
I watched a little bit of Stranger Things 1, but it was a little too strange for me.
A little too strange for you? Well, it's just the right amount of strange for me. And my favorite character is Steve.
Well, I've been watching Riverdale lately, which is kind of an interesting show. I haven't quite been binge watching that, but that's another interesting show. It's along with Stranger Things.
It's all the rage right now,
It's up there with Stranger Things, Riverdale.
Okay,
I'm hip,
well, all right.
as the kids would say.
Well, all right, settle down, Riverdale fans. We're going to get into this week's episode here. We're talking the end of the prep football season for us in the area. Last Friday night, the big one, we had Cascade, second ranked in Class 2A, undefeated, hosting the Porte City Union. It was a rematch of 2 weeks ago where Cascade pulled out a late win, won the district championship. 2 weeks later, the rematch, always difficult. You never know how it's going to play out. And boy, unfortunately, Union comes out 22-14 in this one. And the sad thing for the Cougars is they just had so many opportunities in this ball game. Entering the fourth quarter, Cascade held a 7-0 lead. And through those first three quarters, Cascade had 6 fourth down conversions. Yes, 6 fourth down conversions deep inside Union territory. Could not convert, could not get a first down, could not add to the lead. That cost them as the game went into the fourth quarter. 11:37 to play. Union ties it up at 7. You feel like the momentum is going the way of the Knights, but no, just 3 plays later, Cascade's Colby Holmes breaks off a 78-yard touchdown run, 10 minutes to play, and the Cougars have retaken a 14-7 lead. Now Union comes back in this one, and they, on this drive to try to tie the game, I'm almost lost for words. It is one of the craziest, unique drives you will ever see in a high school football game. The Knights quarterback, Troy Hannes, is intercepted by Cascade's Johnny Supple, and as Johnny's running the ball back, trying to get some yardage, set up the offense, he gets stripped by Union. The Knights jump back on the fumble and take back possession to continue the drive. And then the Knights are forced with a 4th and 23, and they complete a 26-yard pass to keep this drive going. And then once again, they face a fourth and goal at the 9-yard line and throw a touchdown pass to make this a 14-13 game. Then, you want to talk about being aggressive. The Knights go for 2 to try to take the lead, but Cascade stuffs it. It's a 14-13 lead for the Cougars. At this point in the game, 4 minutes to go, Union has no timeouts. All they have to do is get 2 first downs, and this game is over. The Cougars are going to the Unidome. Unfortunately, they get 1 first down, cannot get a second. Union gets the ball back at their own 40 with a minute and change to play, and they're able to drive 47 yards down the field. And with 4.7 seconds to play, Mark Mahood kicks a 30-yard field goal to lift Union into the state semifinals. And Jim, this is a program that was in the state championship game last year. Very veteran-like team when it comes to the playoffs, and Cascade just could not get over the hump. They had so many opportunities and just couldn't do it. Union, obviously very experienced, a team that is poised in this kind of situation, but the Cougars still a tremendous season. 10-1 they finish, second ranked in the state, and district championship to boot, and this is their first ever trip to the state quarterfinals.
Yeah, you mentioned Union. You mentioned their pedigree, their championship level pedigree. I think that plays a big factor. When you get to a game like this, you don't panic. They're a team that, even though they were down, they didn't panic, and they found a way to make things happen, which it doesn't really surprise you. You see that, in a lot of different sports across the board in high school. If a team has that championship level pedigree, they just find a way to make things happen. And I think that's something that we're starting to see a little bit from Cascade. Outstanding basketball program, outstanding baseball program year after year. The football program is really growing right now. So, it says a lot for Cascade that they're able to develop those, well-rounded athletes. And you see so many athletes out at Cascade who are participating in 2, 3, 4 sports. And that makes a big difference. A track program is very good too, cross-country track. So, I mean, it's when you win in one sport, a lot of times it carries over to another. So I think this might be just scratching the surface for Cascade. I think you're going to see, a lot more success out of them in the years to come.
Yeah, and interesting. You look at this Cascade team, had some talent back, but Harris Hoffman coming in as quarterback, wasn't really sure what you're going to get out of him, and he had a terrific season. And, not a lot of expectations for this team, so they certainly shattered those right away with a tremendous run in the regular season. They're going to lose a lot of senior talent, so it'll be interesting to see how they follow up. Might not have the expectations going into next season either. So anyways, congratulations to Cascade, a great year. We also finished things up in Wisconsin, basically the quarterfinal level there in Wisconsin as well. Mineral Point falls to Markesan, and Potosi-Cassville, their very first year as a co-op, they make it to the quarterfinals, but fall to Blackhawk, and it's kind of hard to believe that our prep football season has wrapped up.
It is. When you look at Blackhawk and Markesan, they're both two traditional Wisconsin powers, so there's no shame in losing to those teams. But a great season on the Wisconsin side of the river for us as well. Unfortunately, ended up a little bit shorter of Madison, but hats off to both of those teams. They played outstanding seasons this year and had a great postseason run as well.
Yeah, and now you look at all this football we've been focusing on, and a lot of teams going down to state in volleyball, which we'll have plenty of coverage of that in next week's episode of More on the Score. Kind of lost in the shuffle is the Dubuque Fighting Saints getting their season underway. I'm sure a lot of puckheads are looking forward to checking this out and getting your views on the Saints' early season so far.
Well, I think the first couple of weeks of the season, I think the Fighting Saints didn't mind being lost in the shuffle a little bit. They struggled to score a little bit the first 5-6 games of the season. They were only averaging slightly over 1 goal per game. But they've won their last 3 games and they've scored 16 goals in the last 3 games to get back over 500 and really find their groove. They're a team that is such a traditional powerhouse in the USHL. They've made the USHL playoffs all 7 years that they've been back. This is year 8. They've won a playoff series in each of those years, and they've won at least 30 games each of those years. So they're a team with a lot of tradition, a lot of pride, and they didn't really start off the season the way they really would have liked. But it looks like they found their groove, and they're starting to put the puck in the back of the net the way, with the way they're accustomed.
Yeah, so obviously, Jim will have all kinds of great coverage on the Saints here moving forward throughout the season. We'll make sure to cover everything that transpired at the Iowa State Volleyball Tournament on next week's episode. That is going to do it for this week's episode of Telegraph Herald More Than the Score. I'm your host, Steve Ortman, alongside Jim Leitner. We'll see you next week. You got to go watch some Riverdale.
I do.